We haven't talked about our like logos at all, and I was like, "Oh, this is the perfect episode because Sydney's is an egg, which is like her safe food. One of mine is a cow, which is my favorite animal, but also my safe food."
My seafood is not brains.
I was gonna ask, or do you really like to eat frogs?
No. Absolutely not. It's just like psychology and then reptiles and frogs. So no, I'm not eating any of that.
Hi, welcome back to Discovering Divergency. I'm Crystal, your ADHD OT.
I'm Amanda, I'm your ASD PsyD.
And I'm Sydney, your optimistic autistic.
So today we're feeling some kind of way, which is just happens to be that all three of us are a little down in the dumps, either like I guess mostly just physically sick in some types of ways. So we're just gonna roll with that. I wanted to start off. Do you guys have any sticky thoughts or fun discoveries this week?
Well, I went to Warp Tour this past week, so that was fun, but also a discovery of I'm too old. It wore the hell out of me and everything, but it was a lot of fun. What about you guys? Any kind of like discoveries or things that were really like interesting or sticky moments for you this past week?
I think I mentioned before that I've been starting to just like dabble in watercolors, like just for fun. Like I'm not trying to do anything crazy or become an artiste. I like the feeling of painting, and I like something that doesn't involve a screen that I can do outside. And I discovered this weekend, actually, my husband told me, and he was right, that I really like painting patterns. And he was like, "Why do you think you like painting patterns?" And I'm like, "Well, because they're predictable. Like, I don't have to think about what the next thing I'm going to paint is because it's a pattern. And the whole point is that it continues." So I painted like a sun with like rings around it. And I painted like something that kind of looks like steps almost. And it's so pretty with the colors, and like, it's just so fun.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely used that, like doing just lines of different ways or like different color, like staying in a specific color palette when I used it. I love that.
I feel like there's like things in my brain that I like can't access right now, but like there's definitely like stuff I've seen before about how and why that kind of stuff is pleasing to us. But again, my brain is empty today, so we'll just leave it with the vague vibes that it's good for you.
Well, yeah, the nervous system loves predictability. So, right, it craves that. So, especially the neurodivergent, autistic, mostly the autistic nervous system, it craves that predictability. So, when we can give it in any way, even if it's as simple as painting lines, painting a pattern, it's kind of activating that calming sensation in your body. And there's also like science behind that, like like brain to hand movement there. But yeah, that's awesome. I saw fire breathers.
Well,
and a fire. This is sorry. That was a really I just really jumped. But last weekend we went to this Luna Fair, which is like a festival with like all this like alternative type like witchy stuff, and it was so fun. And there was fire dancers and fire breathers, and they I was a little scared for their safety because they lit themselves on fire and they ate it, and it was insane, but it was very cool. I literally was like, "No!" And Zach was like, "Shh, like don't do that." Like they know what they're doing. It's okay. I was like, "But that's not safe. I'm calling my brother. He's a firefighter."
I remember what I was going to bring up. Well, obviously the watercolor thing, but Tyler and I went to go see a movie on Saturday night. And the last time I went to the movies, it ruined me, which I told you guys about. And this time I did not see a matinee. So that was helpful. It was Toy Story 3. So it wasn't like a thriller of some kind.
3 or 5?
that's what I was wondering.
Oh my God. 5.
Okay, I was like,
saw
"Oh, did they
Toy
do like a
Story
throwback?"
5.
Yeah, I was like,
No.
sure, they might be showing all
No,
of them. And Sydney
I'm
was like,
just-
I
my
really have
brain.
to read. Again, the
My
vibes
brain,
are on.
she doesn't work today. Okay, sorry. No, we saw Toy Story 5. in 2026. And
And what was the date and all the other things? The exact
This is
time.
pre-recorded, but not
Taylor
like
Swift wrote a
5
song. It
years.
was a whole thing. But I was really nervous because the last time we went to the movies, I didn't have a great time, and the aftermath was pretty awful. And we went, and we were in like theater number 2. It was like the fancy theater with the recliners, but it was also the theater that had like the big sound, and like the seats would shake, and like everything was shaking, and I can't do that. Like once the ground starts to move because of the sound, it's over for me. And so we weren't in like the first row, but like we were in kind of the first row of where it starts, and it was really loud. And luckily I had my loop earplugs. Bless up. I always have them with me. And Tyler didn't. He looked like he was a little uncomfortable, but I don't have earplugs for him. So I told him if he was uncomfortable to just like shove napkin in his ear. And he was like, I'll be fine. I don't need that. And then after the movie, I saw him take it out of his ear, and I was like, oh, so you did need them. He's like, oh, this like right after you told me to put them on my ears. We didn't even get through the coming attractions, like without plugging our ears. It was so loud. We were in the car at home. We're like, why would anyone want it to be that loud for Toy Story? For anything, but for Toy Story, like,
especially
like the whole Nicole Kidman thing, like sound you can feel. That's not for me.
You're like,
I love Nicole Kidman. I love the ad. My company worked on the ad. I'm biased, but like sound you can feel, not for me.
When I was at Warped Tour, I wasn't at this part. My brother went to a concert, and he said someone literally had dollar bills in their ear to like plug the sound. And he was like, why are you doing that? He was like, earplugs like soften it too much, but I need something. And my brother just kept being like, money talks. So that's my final tidbit on that.
So if you're ever in a pinch,
yeah,
throw some dollar bills in your ears.
Apparently.
Preferably hundreds.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, if you're going to do it, commit to the bit.
I know I wanted to ask Amanda, last week you were talking about activation. I don't remember the context, but I remember being like, what did that mean? In general, is that kind of like feeling triggered? Like that's how I took it.
I mean, it can be.
Is that like a psych term?
I guess I didn't really think about it that way. Yeah, I guess it's more of a psych term. But in my head, when I talk about activation, like it can be like a traditional like post-traumatic stress disorder kind of response of like being triggered. But it can also just be something that's emotionally activating or even like physiologically activating. Like if someone's having like a panic attack or they're just having a moment where they're having an intense reaction, that's what I would kind of call like being activated in response to something.
Okay, thank you. I think that kind of ties to, sorry, that kind of sounded passive aggressive. Okay, thanks.
So good.
I think that actually, I didn't mean for it, but it segues kind of nicely into our topic for today. We will be discussing our experience and different issues around food and disorder eating. So if that is something that might be activating to you, we wanted to give you a heads up. Feel free to turn us off and join us for the next one, or just, make sure you're in a safe place and have a plan for after if it might be something that's activating or triggering for you.
I'm wondering for Crystal or Sydney, like, what was kind of your experiences like with food as kids? Because I know for myself, there's some things that kind of came up with me as a child, but I'm wondering for you guys, was there any challenges or things that are memorable about like how you ate or how you interact with food as a kid?
I have like very few memories of childhood, but I do know that like I ate the same thing every single day for lunch. Like I had a ham and cheese sandwich every single day for lunch. Yeah, I don't really recall a lot of sensitivities for food. I had a lot of different I'm trying not to use the word weird in describing my autistic characteristics, but I don't know what other word to use.
Abnormal?
But is that worse?
Atypical?
Yeah, atypical. Like, I don't know. I like the word weird. I like use it as proud, but I also am like, I don't know if it's really like great to be calling
I think when
all
you're
of
talking
my
about yourself and you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
say it, it's okay.
But yeah, so like I had weird things around food. Like I had to like smell the bite of food every time before I ate it. Like that was a social thing that I had to learn that you're not supposed to do. I remember this very distinctly that like I could never eat without like getting a mess on my shirt. And to the point where like every day in kindergarten I always had something on my uniform shirt. We wore white uniforms. And there was a day where I didn't, and I put something on my shirt because I was like, you're supposed to have food on your shirt to show that you ate.
I feel like having kindergartners wear white shirts
Yeah, it
is a
was bright.
strange
Really.
choice, but that's besides
Yeah.
the point.
But yeah, so for as a kid, those were my like food experiences that I really recall. Sid, how about you? Or
Well, I can go first if you want me to.
I can do it. I can be brave. I've always had issues with food. It's so hard to explain, and I think that's why I'm like kind of always nervous to talk about it, because I can't explain it. It's very irrational. To other people, it's very irrational. Like a lot of it, like I can't always put a word to it, but I'll try to explain my food sensitivities to people who don't know me and have not been in a room with me while I have eaten food. So I think that the basic summary of my food challenges is that I'm afraid of a lot of foods. Like they actually scare me and give me anxiety and fear. And some of it's fear for having an allergic reaction because I don't know if I am allergic to it, or this more irrational, like I am genuinely just like scared of this thing and I don't want to touch it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to eat it, especially. And as a kid growing up, oh, my cat's here. Hello. Hi. And as a kid, hi, George. You want to be on the podcast? And as a kid growing up, I had an experience that I feel like a lot of people had where, you know, like your parents would give you your food and then they'd put like one carrot on your plate and be like, you can't leave the table till you eat the carrot. And for, I think, a lot of kids, that's fine. Like, I think it's a small ask. Like, I don't think it seems like a big deal, but for me, it was scary. And then I love my family, and I'm not trying to diss them. Just want to put that out there. We're all good. But as a child, it felt like bullying because they were like laughing at me when I would like make an icky face. I make a lot of really weird faces when I eat food they don't like. I gag. That was kind of growing up my experience. And then I also ate the same thing for lunch, like every day. It was roast beef roll-ups, a cheese pop, which is, most people call it cheese stick, but I call it a cheese pop, and a desserty, which is probably a snack, which is just like fruit gummy things. And then when I was in college, my therapist diagnosed me with OCD for other reasons. And I was telling her about my food challenges, and she was like, oh, let's do exposure therapy. And so we tried exposure therapy. And unfortunately, because I was seeing my therapist through my college, there weren't like a lot of resources. So I had to go every other week because everyone was seeing the therapists there. There weren't that many. And so I not only went every other week instead of every week or twice a week or whatever to do exposure therapy. So that didn't work. But also I learned when I got diagnosed with autism that exposure therapy does not work for people with autism. At least not the same way it works for people with OCD, because my clinician explained it to me as when you have OCD and you do exposure therapy, you like inch closer to it. You inch closer to the goal, and that makes sense, and that's fine. That's what's supposed to happen. When you have autism and you do exposure therapy, it's like someone's hitting you on the head with a hammer very lightly, and then they hit you on the hammer a little harder, and then a little harder, and then like harder, and it hurts every time. It doesn't get less painful. And that's more what exposure therapy is like for autistic people. That's what was explained to me. So because I don't have OCD and because I have autism, or because even if I had both, but because the autism would overrule the OCD in that way, the exposure therapy didn't work. It actually made it worse. And so as an adult, I've found community with people who have issues with food. I've tried to be more open about it with people without totally embarrassing myself in certain settings. And I think I've made a lot of progress. Actually, I know I've made a lot of progress. but I have a long way to go. But I'm getting there. But yeah, Amanda, I want to hear about your experiences.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about it. I think just before that, it's like it sounds like already like it's been a complex journey for you, like different reactions of how families handle it in childhood. It's hard when our families don't know how to handle it right away. And I think it's also hard too when even providers don't know what to do because especially when we don't know about our neurodiversities and our providers aren't necessarily looking for those neurodiversities, sometimes there can be a mismatch. And I think that can be really hard of then figuring out later, like, what's the next steps with things. So as a kid, I was very restrictive in the foods I eat and not in like a purposeful intake restriction kind of way, like in a way of like I didn't eat a lot of foods. So as a child, my family talks a lot about like I would only eat like one thing and my parents would buy that one thing and that was like all I would eat. Also, like you guys gonna mention, I was similar too. That like I only ate one thing for lunch at school for probably years on end. I eat it's like gross now to think about, but I would eat margarine sandwiches, and that was it. Like I would just eat like straight up bread with just margarine between, and that was like my lunch for several years. And I really struggled with having any range of diet until I was in like fourth or fifth grade, and I went to sleepaway camp for the first time. And at sleepaway camp, kind of had no choice but to have some different things. And then, like, I think it was finally at an age that I was open to trying other things and, like, exploring other foods. But I still had, like, a lot of challenges. Something that's interesting to look back on of, like, a weird way that my family accommodated me without knowing what was going on is my mom used to make me menus. Like, she used to have these, like, laminated menus that had, like, a few things I would eat that I would, like, choose from for dinners, and that helped a lot to just kind of know what I was eating and to have the autonomy to pick those things. So it wasn't often a thing like you talked about, Sydney, of like my parents trying to like encourage me to have different foods. But I do remember one instance that was tough as a kid is we used to go whitewater rafting, and it was like an all day thing. Like you would go whitewater rafting, and then we like paused for lunch, and then we would do more of it. And at lunch, all they had was hot dogs. That was the entire like lunch was like hot dogs and chips and stuff. And I hated hot dogs. I did not like them. I did not eat them. And I remember as a kid, my parents trying to encourage me to eat them because they wanted me to be able to eat something on the trip. And like pretty much from my perspective, forcing me to eat it. Of course, it's not forcing. Like they're my parents. They're trying to help me out. But like trigger warning for people that have emetophobia and I've triggered about vomiting. Like, I threw up. Like, they would force me to eat hot dogs. I was, like, throwing up, and they're like, you have to eat this. Like, we can't figure out other things. And they eventually, like, brought along peanut butter and, like, just had me eat peanut butter on bread. But, yeah, that's the stuff that I remember from childhood. But, like, a lot of it for me, I think as I've gotten older, is a lot of texture issues. Like, I still have tons and tons of texture issues with food. And, like, we could talk about in a moment, like, how that manifests in my relationship or how that manifests in my adult eating. But, yeah, that was a lot of my experiences during, like, childhood with food.
Thank you guys for sharing that. So when we were kids, like, our parents didn't know what to do, but, like, providers didn't know what this was either, right? And as an OT, like, I know there was a lot of kind of horrific, I would like now treatment for kids that had these types of issues, like not knowing how to treat that. Like there was a lot of like forcing and like exposure therapy. And now I think there are still places that do types of therapy like that. But it's a lot more of an inclusive and less scary world out there for treatment.
I think it's also hard because in some ways, even for neurotypical children, it's pretty normal for a child to go through a picky phase, quote unquote, with food. Like, that's not unheard of for like a child to be like, I don't want to eat this or I do want to eat this. But I think a lot of what me and Sid talked about is this like extreme level. Like, again, me weeks on end not eating anything except the specific thing that my mother would buy for us, or Sid kind of talking about a lot of that. Again, like, I keep using the word restriction, and maybe that's not even the right word, but I guess particularness, I don't know, like this thing that like
aversion. I've been using the word aversion for a long time.
That's the right word I'm looking for. But yeah, like this aversion to things, because it is way more different than like a kid that like just doesn't like a certain thing. Like a kid that doesn't like a hamburger, big whoop. A kid doesn't like a hamburger. But like something I'll talk about too, and I'm curious for you, Sid, or maybe Crystal as well. I was very brand particular too, and I still am. Like my mother, like it's fine. Like my parents bought a lot of off-brand things as a kid, and my parents would always be like, "You don't taste the difference. You don't taste the difference." I'm like, "No, I really do," and like that's something that I still struggle with too. Of like, I really only specifically will have like I'll eat cheese sticks, but I only eat Cheesehead brands cheese sticks. I will not eat other brands. It's not being picky. It's not being like difficult. It's like these things texture wise and taste wise are not the same to me, and that was something that was really challenging as a kid too. Of like my parents or other ones just being like, "Oh, eat the off-brand of this and that," and like I really can't.
I haven't had that experience as much, but that makes a lot of sense. And now I'm thinking like maybe I have had that experience,
That's
and I just
so
don't
interesting.
remember.
Yeah, no, it was always a thing for me of like I would want Captain Crunch and it would be like Crunchos from like whatever like store brand or whatever. Like that was always like a big issue. Not a big issue. It was really hard for me.
I think that's one of the things that I would tease out when I'm doing like an eval and talking about food is how is it impacting your daily life? Like, does it really matter, right? It matters when we are so restricted that we're only eating, 3 or 4 things and we're not getting enough nutritional value from those 3 or 4 things. Like that is when we really need to like look at this and try to treat this. But if we are able to adapt it, like maybe it's okay to honor that person's like sensory needs and honor that person's, but there's so much culture around food too that it can be really difficult for families to understand. Explaining sensory needs to somebody who doesn't have very strong sensory needs is really difficult. How are you guys in terms of like your sense of taste? Would you say that you have like a stronger sense of taste than others? Like you taste things when people are asking?
Some things I do. Citrus I definitely do. Like this is a silly thing that comes up a lot of like my partner will be like, "Oh, there's not a lot of lemon flavor in this." And like I taste it, I'm like, "This is the most lemon thing I've ever had in my life." So like I'm very sensitive to citrus flavors. And like I would say like probably just like the bitter sour end of the spectrum in general I'm a bit more sensitive to. And then like I have texture sensitivities, but those flavor wise is probably my challenges with those things. Or not even challenges, the ways that I'm really sensitive to those things.
I feel really sensitive to spices. Like I don't cook with a lot of spices, and when I do make a recipe with a lot of spices, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm gonna put a little oregano in this and be a little crazy today and take a risk." And like even pepper, like salt and pepper, just putting pepper on something is like not too much, like so little that you probably don't even know it's there. When people ask me to taste things, my instinct is no. I'd rather not. Like I was at a wedding recently and they do the past hors d'oeuvres, and that's lovely and everything looked, if I liked all the things, I can objectively say that the things on the plates looked delicious and like fancy and nice and probably were good. But I was like, I don't know what kind of sauce is on that kebab. I'm not like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. I don't need to eat it. So, but then people were, "Oh, you missed out. You're missing out on this really delicious thing." I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I think a lot of people think that, "Oh, you don't like to try new things. That's so sad and like pessimistic and closed-minded of you." But it actually makes me feel better not to try new things, and like, don't fix it if it ain't broken, kind of is my thought process with food. Where it would benefit me to expand my palate is in social situations and where I'm places where I don't have access to my safe foods. So it would be nice to have that flexibility, but I don't like need it. And so I don't feel like it's necessary to expand in that way.
I think what you're kind of talking about reminds me of what Crystal was kind of saying of like, if it doesn't cause deficits, like, and it's something that is not causing distress in your life, it's okay, in my opinion, to kind of navigate these things. It becomes a challenge when it does cause like deficits, even like health deficits. Like something that happens for a lot of autistic folks or just folks in general is struggling with fruits and vegetables because they're inconsistent. Like packaged Doritos are going to always taste like Doritos, or like other packaged foods are always going to taste like those packaged foods if they're like something processed. But a fresh fruit or vegetable can be really hard for folks because it's not consistent. Like sometimes, like I know for myself, like it's a funny thing, but I comment a lot to my spouse that like I only like summer tomatoes. Like I will not eat tomatoes outside of summer because that's when they're like in season and fresh and more consistent. But I won't eat like them the rest of the year. And for myself, I find other ways of like having those nutrients and having those items, but that's something that can be really hard for folks that are more averse to things and are struggling to have those different nutrients.
I never thought about the inconsistency of the food being the reason that someone would be averse to it, but that makes a lot of sense. This is the first time hearing that. That's so interesting. I don't think that that's like where my aversions come from, but it's definitely a factor that I'm just realizing in this moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, a lot of times those anxieties come from like a one-time thing, right? You bite into a squishy carrot and you're like, "Fuck that, I don't eat carrots," right? Like, that's not mine. And now, like, that's just part of you, and you're not gonna try a carrot ever again because I have this like fear. I have a legitimate fear of what that's gonna feel like in my mouth.
And see, that's where it's really interesting. Like, again, my brain's a little fried today, so I can't think of the exact term, but there's a term for how we learn, and that with learning, usually it's repeated kind of things, but with like a food thing, if you have it one time, and it, again, trigger warning for people with this kind of concern about vomiting, like, if you have a food one time and you vomit, your brain makes that association and that's it. Like, you may never have that food again. And that's very different from the other ways that we learn things of like, it's usually these repeated kind of exposures or this repeated kind of thing. But something about that, like, we just kind of decide that. And it's evolutional. Like, if we were hunter-gatherers and we find out this thing causes you to vomit and is poisonous, you're not going to eat it again. And that's where I feel like things get crossed in our minds when we're struggling with some food issues, is that our brain is associating, like you said, Crystal, that mushy carrot, now I'm never going to eat carrots again. But it's really hard to break when sometimes we have these kind of things over and over, or have these times where we were a kid and our parents are trying to make us have certain foods and we're having that association that kind of moves on to our lifetime.
Yeah, so for me, most of the time I'm okay eating. It's when I'm really dysregulated that like my sensitivities come out and I have no appetite and I can't eat, and I stick to like it is very safe. Like, I don't even really like it, but like a Dunkin' Donuts bacon, egg, and cheese tastes exactly the same every single time. And when I'm dysregulated, like, and I have always lived in the Northeast, so I have always lived on like the same block as a Dunkin' Donuts. So like when I'm dysregulated, that's what I'm gonna get because it's just a safe food for me. And it specifically, like, a lot of times those things are like fast food because they're maybe not really food, but they taste the same every time. Like, another safe food for me is a cheeseburger.
But like a cheeseburger from where? You know,
I was gonna say, but when I'm really dysregulated, like, I'm not just gonna order any cheeseburger.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna go get a McDonald's cheeseburger. But that is also like a comfort food for me if I'm like in the middle, like, and I'm at a diner, like, pretty much a diner cheeseburger is gonna do it for me. Like, there's not too much variation there for me. But yeah, those little subtleties can be hard to explain and hard for people to understand.
I think that predictability is really important. Like, I know for myself, that's where food becomes a huge challenge because, like, I feel like if I'm on the edge of having a really dysregulated day and I'm expecting dinner to be one way and dinner's another way, that's it. I'm done. I'm having a complete meltdown. And like, it's really hard because it's also hard to explain to my partner that like, it's not about the fact that this food is a certain way. It's just, I need that predictability after I've had a lot of dysregulation throughout the day.
How do you guys feel about handling, like physically handling foods that you're scared of, or my version of scared, like that you don't like? Because I'd love to hear what goes on for you guys.
I feel like I progressed it that way. Like, I used to not have a lot of challenges, but, like, lately, in general, I have struggled a lot with chicken, and, like, I think it's getting to a point now that I'm just letting my partner handle it, because, like, I'm starting to, like, for a couple weeks, again, I get into food things where, like, even now as an adult, like, I will eat the same lunch for weeks at a time. That's very normal for me. And for weeks, I was getting, like, a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken from, like, the grocery store, and then eventually, like, there was a day that I was like, this is a chicken. And, like, it was just...
I can't think too hard.
No, yeah, it was a day that I thought too hard, and I was like, well, we're done with rotisserie chickens for a little bit. And, like, I don't know, like, I struggle with that now. And again, that's, like, some weird kind of post-diagnosis regression kind of thing that, like, I didn't have as much issues, but I think, like, I'm just better connected to my needs and my challenges nowadays than in a way that I wasn't before.
Do you have any thoughts, Crystal?
I don't really have any food fears. Like,
oh, good for you.
Yeah. That's not one of my main struggles.
Well, I have a lot of issues handling foods that I'm scared of. For example, a few weeks ago, there was a holiday and we had our friends over and we did a little barbecue and it was lovely. And one of the things we made were burgers. And Tyler asked me, will you prep the toppings for the burgers? Will you prep the lettuce and tomato and whatever? And I was like, no, like, I don't want to touch it. He's like, he knows me and he was immediately just like, okay, that's fine. But usually when I say that to other people who are not my spouse or my closest friends, they're like, you don't want to touch it? What do you think is going to happen? Like, that's the response that I have always gotten. And it's not rational. I know it's not rational. It's not rational to the majority of people, but I can't do it. And it's the same thing for washing dishes. I hate washing dishes, not because I hate washing dishes and doing chores, but because I don't like touching food. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I don't like talking about it, but like, I don't like any of that. So I have a lot of trouble. I don't even like to smell food that I don't like. That really, like, physically, internally irks me. There are some foods that I request that Tyler not make in our house. And he does the same thing for me too. He doesn't like seafood. So when I do have seafood, I like open all the windows and I light a candle and have the vent on and everything. But like, it's more than just like, I don't like the smell. It's like, it will ruin me for a few days if there is an altercation with a food that I don't like. So that's my answer to my own question.
Yeah. With that, is it like a sensory thing or what kind of goes on in that moment? If you don't mind sharing of like what makes it difficult to,
I would be happy to share.
Yeah.
It is a sensory thing. Like, when I think about it, it's like I don't want to touch it because it makes me like kind of uncomfortable. Like, I don't like I don't like what I think that feels like. But there's also this irrational, like, I just don't want to touch it thing. Like, if it touches me, I'll be tainted and I'll have to like wash my hands 100 times to get it off, maybe. Even if it's like just a little bit of something. It's the thing. It's so hard to explain. And I know I sound silly, but
it's got to be hard to handle too.
Yeah, it's really difficult when I'm around people who don't like understand or respect my challenges. I'm trying more so these days to not use the word issues. I used to say a lot of like my food issues. Trying to say my food challenges. Something I learned in therapy. Go to therapy. This is a PSA. Go to therapy. Let's do it. Yeah, it's especially around my family, who I love, I'm very close to, but and I think it's coming from a place of like, you should be eating these things because they're healthy and like, just try it. It's really not that bad. Like, seriously, oh my God, just try it. Jesus, like, try it. But like, it's not, that doesn't work for me and it just pushes me away. I'm kind of like an angsty teen in that way of like, the more you force it on me, the more I'm going to back up.
But I feel like it's hard with that. Like, I think it can feel very personal. It can feel embarrassing and it can feel for myself too, like I often feel like I'm too demanding or quote unquote too difficult to be like, I don't want to have this thing, I don't want to interact with this thing, or it's not done in the way that feels right to me. And that can be really difficult to kind of explain and have other people in your life kind of get.
It can come off kind of controlling too, I feel like.
I have a lot of memories of going to my friends' houses as a kid, and their parents would make dinner for us. And in advance, I'd try and figure out what it was going to be. Not that I could do anything because I was like 6 years old, but at least I would know if I had to start strategizing about like, oh, I feel a little sick, or like, oh, I might be allergic to that. Like, I figure out what I could say to kind of get out of it if I wasn't gonna like it. And it was really hard for me to go over to my friends' houses for dinner because of that. Because then if I didn't eat it, the thing that their parent made, spent hours making this dinner or whatever, it made me feel or look ungrateful or like, I don't know, negative, like something not good. And then I would get in trouble. Why didn't you eat it? And I was like, I didn't want to. And then I would be told, well, they cooked it for you, so you have to eat it. And it's like, no. But then I also have this, one of my special interests is sustainability and the environment. And so I have very strong feelings about food waste, which I have always had very strong feelings about food waste, even before I probably even knew that's what I had strong feelings about. And so I don't like to waste food on my plate. Like if I'm done with my food, but I still have a little left, I'll eat it, even though I'm full. Like I know that's not super healthy physically, but I just naturally, I'm like, every grain of rice has got to be eaten. Now that I have autonomy as an adult, I have a food compost machine, which I could put most food scraps into. So I use that. So I feel a little less bad when I don't finish my food or when I burn something when I'm cooking or whatever. But I didn't have that growing up. And so I felt really guilty when someone gave me a 3-part meal with like a protein, a carb, and a green, and I didn't eat the green, and then I threw out the green. That like really, it bothered me. In addition to like, it made me uncomfortable. It bothered me from that perspective too. So I'm like, I get in conflict with myself over it too. And that's not fun.
No. The gratitude thing is something that I struggle with so hard. Of like, it's like when I have a food issue, it's like a 2-part thing. It's like the initial, like, and I'm working on it and like improving on it, but it's like the initial like sensory issue of like, I can't eat this. This is really uncomfortable and I don't know how to say it. And then it's a secondary issue of like, I'm so ungrateful. Like, especially when my spouse makes food, I'm ungrateful. I'm a bad person. Like, they sleep for hours and I'm a terrible, ungrateful person for not eating it. And then it's like, I've gotten better with it with my partner, but initially it was just like, me sitting there feeling crazy and feeling terrible, and my partner being like, what's wrong? And I'm like, everything's fine. And I like can't say that like the texture of this is wrong, and I initially feel ungrateful. And like now I've gotten better with saying that, but it's still like very hard because I think there's a lot of inherent ideas about gratitude when someone else makes you food, or also just like the ways that we're brought up of like, you should be grateful. They're like a lot of, at least I've heard a lot of that idea of like, there's starving kids in Africa and everything, which is very outdated and very racist for very other reasons. But like, that's the phrase and the idea that kind of comes to mind of like, you should be grateful for the food you have, you should eat it, like you're ungrateful. And then like, particularly like, it's very hard too, again, to like explain these things to a partner. Like for me, it's very hard of like, I've had times where like it's the right meal but it's in the wrong order and the wrong amount. Like one that comes to mind is like, one day my spouse made like pasta with like sauce and like sausage or whatever, and he decided to put the sauce on, and I had a whole meltdown because I was like, I only put like this tiny bit of sauce, like you put way too much. And it's like, again, it sounds ridiculous because I'm like, it's literally the same dish with the same ingredients but it's in the wrong amount, and it can be very like like, back to the word activating, very emotionally activating to like have this thing occur, and again, like then feeling ungrateful.
How do you guys feel about looking at food, like watching people eat on TV or hearing crunching, hearing chewing? Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. There are some things that, like, it's fine. Like, Tyler likes to watch this guy who does food challenges on YouTube, and usually it's okay. I just look away when I'm uncomfortable, but I'm wondering how you guys feel about that.
I don't have any issues like listening to someone eat.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no. I feel you.
So
Like my
happy
brother
for you
was like
guys.
that growing up. So I kind of want to talk about my food issues in a different way than you guys. Like I don't have necessarily those fears. Like again, like I said, when I'm dysregulated, it becomes a little different. I want to stay with very limited diet, but typically I'm down to try whatever. But before I realized my neurodivergency, like I had a lot of shame around the amounts of food I ate, and I realized I used food often as like a stim. And I'm wondering if you guys ever experienced that. I've definitely kind of like binge ate things, and now I know from a sensory aspect. Like I knew I was like maybe I don't really feel fullness actually, but I'm like I don't really want any more, but I need to feel this in my mouth. Like I need another like crunch. Like okay, no, that wasn't enough of a crunch. Like I need another one. And I didn't realize like what that was, and I felt a lot of shame around it because it's often not like great food. It still happens to me, but like I can recognize like, oh, this is a need, right? I'll do a lot of chewing gum. I have like silicone straws that I can chew on. Like I have chewy fidgets, so I get that input differently now. But that's something that growing up as a female in the 21st century, like wanting to be as skinny as possible and like feeling a lot of shame around like eating an entire pack of Oreos or whatever it was.
I can definitely feel like there's been times where I'm like, I just need something crunchy or I need something to have this specific flavor and like struggling to kind of like find that. And I think what also comes to mind, like, is that at least for like ADHD, and I'm not sure for autism as well, like dopamine seeking, like looking for pleasure in food can be very, very common. I'm seeing folks that like are having food seeking, but then also having other behaviors that might be like smoking cigarettes or doing other things where they're like seeking something to kind of have that dopamine. And I think it can be really challenging because like food is also something that we all need to live, so it can be very hard to kind of navigate when there is different challenges with food, whether it is like aversion to food or like seeking of food. Like it can just be a really difficult thing to navigate.
I am definitely prone to that battle of like dopamine seeking via food, and also like history of disordered eating and like hiding what I eat and like fear of eating. And I like battle myself back and forth because like I want to eat healthier. I like saw a dietitian, but then also that can bring up a lot of like restrictive eating for me, and I can go too far into it. Like I had seen a dietitian and we were like talked about like cutting out gluten, and that can start to develop those anxieties of like I can feel myself getting to that point where I'm looking at like bread and having an internal fear of like if I eat this it's going to hurt me, and I don't want to get there. So I I walk this like very thin line of like trying to cut out these foods that like aren't good for PMOS, aren't good for migraine. Like they may help my health, but if I do it too much and think about it too much, it causes such severe anxiety, and I don't want to get myself to that point where then I'm restricting in that way. And so those are the struggles that I go through.
I totally relate to that. Because, like, you say, like, oh, gluten bad. That's the box. Gluten bad. Either good or bad. And then, so if it's bad, you avoid it at all costs. And then if you have it, it's bad that you had the bad thing.
Yeah. And
'Cause that's the rule.
the dietitian, I don't think I really expressed my neurodivergency to her in terms of words, but I was just like, but I can't eat it. Like, I don't have an appetite. Like, I will get sick if I try to eat this. And she's like, but just eat it in a small amount, or like eat it throughout the day. And I'm like, that's not going to work. Or like, okay, add this in. And then now I'm stressing about like, okay, did I get the right number of potassium? How do I get potassium in? Where do, like, the number didn't, I can't get up to that number. And now you're telling me to add another thing in? Like, I didn't hit the potassium goal yet. Like, there's too many goals to hit. Like, eating shouldn't be so confusing. And then I have ADHD, so like planning those things and like getting myself to cook those things. And I also like have a passion for like sustainability, and a lot of those hacks that will help with my ADHD cause me a lot of anxiety. Like, I know a quick Greek yogurt gives me 20 grams of protein, and if I don't have an appetite, I can force myself to swallow that in 2 bites, and I like will help me not trigger an attack. But then I'm wasting so much plastic having individual cans, so I want to get the big one, but then if I get the big one, that causes me to have to like dole it out properly, and that adds an extra step that I'm not going to do in the morning, so then I'm not going to eat at all. So it's better for me to get the individual ones, but then it's really bad for the environment. So how can I reuse those things? Let me try to start a new craft, and now I have this collection of plastic cups because I'm like, I have to do something with this plastic, and that's the cycle I go through with like most things.
I also have a collection of plastic yogurt containers that I turned into starter pots.
Yeah. But how many can you do? Like, if I eat yogurt every single day, right? Like, that's 7 cups. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, the thing that I have learned in my sustainability journey and also my own life journey is that you can't be sustainable for the environment without being sustainable for yourself. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, you have to, or my opinion is that you have to do the thing that's sustainable for you and then do the thing that's sustainable for the environment. And sometimes those things are conflicting, but the hierarchy is do the thing that's sustainable for you, because if you're not well or at your full capacity, you can't do other things to help the environment. So like, for example, pill bottles, terrible for the environment. Plastic, not good. But like, we need to take our pills for different things. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to get rid of these and discard these pill bottles or reuse them for something, or just be okay with the fact that I'm going to get rid of them, because that's what's sustainable for me. And what's sustainable for you is sometimes having the yogurt, and then unfortunately you have to discard the cup, and that's okay, because you did what was sustainable for you, and then you do all these other wonderful things for the environment. So that's, whether or not that is the right answer, I don't know, but that's how I think about it, and that's how I've kind of justified those things, because that also really upsets me. If something is bad for the environment that someone's doing, and like, or that I'm doing, it like really upsets me.
Where do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in a specific place in your body?
Can you tell as I scrunch up?
I feel it right here. Yeah, and it like makes me sick.
I don't know where I feel it. I've never thought
I like
about
just
that
have a
before.
very specific spot that I feel that. But I've been working on my interoception, so
way to show off, Crystal. Like,
I'm just showing off.
Know
I
where
know
things
where
are
my
in your
feelings
body.
are in my body.
We're learning our bodies.
I think that really encompasses all of the different layers that people aren't understanding, that don't go through this. It's not just the sensory issue for us, especially for like, I think our level 1 autistic, right? It's not just the sensory. It's not just the anxiety. It's not just the masking for so long and not understanding. There's so many different layers, and for every different person, fed is best. Like, if you can't eat anything, like, eat whatever it is that your body's letting you eat, because it's going to help you to survive. I know I deal with a lot of shame around food, around not being able to prepare my foods, around preparing it in different ways or not eating. So that's something I'm going to keep working on, accepting. And like this week, I could not prep my lunches for the week. but it's not a can, but it's like a little bag of salmon, but it's like a can. I don't know. I'm like,
Okay.
you know what? That's going to be my lunch this week, and it's going to be
Right.
okay. Like, it's okay that I didn't prep lunch this week.
Yeah, you figure out ways to accommodate yourself with your foods, or at least I have, and you sounds like you have too. Like I meal prep, but like I kind of eat the same thing every day, but that's fine. I don't mind eating the same thing every day. It doesn't bother me. And so when people are, oh, you eat the same thing every day, that's so sad. No, not really. It's fine.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
curious,
that's-
Sydney,
doesn't really matter.
You have a lot of haters, Sydney.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea. There's a lot of haters.
That's like, I feel like that's my struggle of being ADHD, of like craving routine and novelty at the same time, of like, I wish I could eat the same thing every day. And sometimes I can, and sometimes it feels like you're asking me to eat poison if I have to eat the same thing 3 days in a row.
That's where it's so different. I'm like, ugh, living with a spouse and having to have different dinners like sucks sometimes because I'm like, I would love to just eat the same thing, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like a month straight. That'd be my dream.
I eat the
Yeah.
same thing for breakfast every day, and I have eaten the same thing for breakfast I recently kind of switched it up for like just speed reasons and prep reasons, but I have more or less eaten the same thing for breakfast for like my whole adult life every day.
Is it
And
eggs?
of course it's eggs. It's eggs.
Sid, do you ever get the egg ick or it just doesn't happen for you?
Never. Oh my God, no.
That's so nice.
She could never disappoint. No, I can't wait to have chickens one day.
I was realizing that we haven't talked about our like logos at all, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect episode because Sydney's is an egg, which is like her safe food. One of mine is a cow, which is my favorite animal, but also my safe food.
My seafood is not brains.
I was gonna ask, or do you really like to eat frogs?
No. Absolutely not. It's just like psychology and then reptiles and frogs. So no, I'm not eating any of that.
I was like, I wonder if Amanda really likes frog legs.
No, absolutely not. I think Rose says it's time for Sunflower Spotlight.
Ooh.
Sid, take it away.
Callie wants the spotlight.
There's so many animals today. It's wonderful.
They know we're struggling. They're like, you need some cute cats in this video.
So for today's Sunflower Spotlight, I wanted to bring up Arfid Andrew, who is a creator online who has something called Arfid. Arfid is an acronym for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, and it's a mental health and feeding condition characterized by extreme picky eating or restricted food intake. But unlike other disorders, it's not driven by body image concerns. It's very sensory and comes from a lack of interest in food and a lot of fear of the negative consequences of eating that thing. So this nice fellow, Arfid Andrew, he tries different foods that he's scared of or averted to, and he takes videos of himself facing his fears. That's kind of what he does.
Starting with the croissant toast, the reason why I came, the bread here looks fire. I had to put some of that butter on it. Apparently the butter is made by this old lady who's like 4'9" in her house, and it was incredible. Best butter ever, unbelievable toast. Had to smear some raspberry jam because I could eat that now. What's up? What's up? Put that on. Was so good. When I took that bite, it was perfect. It was the perfect bite. I was in heaven. Next up was this weird mixed mash of salads. I honestly was freaking out. I didn't even know what's on the plate. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to tackle it, so I just grabbed a piece of bread. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I just needed safe food in my mouth. I'm like about to take this like yellow salad thing. I just couldn't do it. And then they were telling me, oh, the one on your left is the potato salad. Do that one. Do that one. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try the potato salad. When I put the potato salad in my mouth, it was disgusting. It was a horrible texture. Like before I even put it in my mouth, I was freaking out. Yeah, I needed to chase it with a little piece of bread. The bread there, again, is fire. That's the reason why I came.
How are you feeling watching that, Sid?
I'm upset. when he showed the plate of all the stuff, I like went, no, like that. I couldn't, like, this isn't, someone was like, oh, you should make a good Instagram of like you trying stuff. No, I should not do that. That would be I'm not ready for that.
I'm glad there are people like him sharing what he's going through. ARFID is Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like pretty new diagnosis. Like I think it came out.
Great question. I'm going to look up when it came.
I was reading it was established in the DSM-5, which is the most recent DSM. So at least there is a word for it. There's knowledge of it, which means that there's going to be more specified treatment and more specified research and like understanding of it. So maybe in 10 years, there's a new podcast and they're just like, yeah, we have ARFID and this is like what we do about it. I don't know. But like, it's not going to be, maybe it won't be as big of an issue, or like at least people will be understanding.
It is a newer diagnosis. It's from 2013 when the last, DSM-5 came out.
I suspect that I have ARFID. I haven't been diagnosed with it because not a lot of people can diagnose it because it is so new and I guess like niche. I also just want to clarify that ARFID is not exclusive to the neurodivergent community. Anyone can have ARFID. Anyone can have ARFID and autism, or one or the other, or neither, or any combination. It's not directly associated with being neurodivergent, but it is common in autistic people. And therefore, that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's also something that I identify with personally as a sensitive food girly.
Thank you guys for sharing your stories. I know that this is a really touchy topic for you guys, and it has caused a lot of grief and a lot of anxieties in your lives. So I really appreciate you guys being vulnerable and sharing your story. And so to leave us off today with our words of wisdom, it's going to come from me. Because I didn't really know what else to say.
Quote yourself.
I'm going to quote myself. But it's like, your sensations are valid. And I want to just leave us there.
If you like listening to our podcast today, feel free to follow us on Spotify, on Instagram, on YouTube, on all the different places. We would love any kind of comments or questions you have related to food or related to any other topics. We especially love any new Sunflower Spotlights that you can pass on to us, and we hope that you'll join us again.
Yeah, let us know what your biggest food ick is.
Your best and your worst. Your safe food and your not so safe food. I want to know. I'm so curious. Okay, I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.